Hey everybody, welcome to Grimm's Forge Gaming. Today we are going to be covering my Mandalorian build. This is a Stamina Knight blade, two hand. So let's jump right into it. Uh, I am running two heavy and then five light. And our monster set that we're running is Celine's. I like the proc from this. I don't care that it has a little delay and it might miss. It's the fact that they do, in fact, need to dodge it or account for it. If it hits them hard. And that tooltip even goes up higher, I believe, if we buff up. And we are running New Moon Acolyte, and that's a great set. Gives us a lot of damage, a lot of penetration, everything we need. And then this is where we get um, people kind of ask us, why would you run with that? And there's actually a rhyme or reason. And the next set that we're running is the Crusader set. And what I was running into was we don't have a problem bursting individual or single targets down, um, but I want to kind of have this hybrid or the ability to single target someone down, but if I needed to be able to stand and brawl a little bit against multiple targets in outnumbered situations. And so this is kind of a sneaky way to do that. So the way Crusader works is when you dodge roll, increase the duration of the dodge chance bonus of the dodge roll by zero point 0.3 seconds. And so if you guys have never seen this before, when you dodge roll around, you get that little light there. And the duration of that, basically it doubles your dodge window. So uh, think of the times when you're trying to put a lot of damage into someone and they dodge roll and you see five or six things miss. Now imagine if it's 10 things miss. And so regularly I get people that message me and say, I'm going to report you for cheating or you're hacking or whatever silliness it is. And it has nothing to do with that. It's actually this set that is underutilized. People don't use this at all. And so increase the duration of the dodge chance bonus of roll dodging by zero point 0.3 seconds. It's a huge window that things are missing you. And so I thought that that was very important. We're running infused on our two hand, and which increases our poison damage that we put in there. I might try and switch this to Nirnhone. A lot of my damage builds I'm running Nirnhone on currently, and I really like the results from that. So we might actually change that out. And on our back bar, so on our front bar here, our main damage bar, we have Crusader. And on our back bar, we're running the Master's Maul. And that's the bar that we're going to be doing the brawling from by using Carve or Cleave, the one that gives us the shield. And with this Master's Maul, it makes that hit very hard, like surprisingly hard on people. And so, in really large groups of people, I can put a lot of pressure into them and gain this shield every time I hit. And I really like the outcome from that if I can hit multiple targets. So that's been fun. To be honest, I use it less than anticipated, just because of where I'm at on figuring out how to pick my targets and disengage from the fights. In Imperial City and in some battleground situations, I'll see it. But Imperial City on the flag, if I can jump into a group or a group just killed a boss, I can jump in there and put this pressure down and then zip back to my shade. And I throw out three or four of these and then go right into the execute, and we could get people right in front of their teammates. So, anyways, that's what we're running. Like I said, two heavy and five light, and we're running Crusader on the front bar, and then on the back bar we'll lose the Crusader bonus, and we gain this increase your direct damage cleave does by 1500 for each enemy in its cone. And so that ends up being a lot of damage. We do have the defending on our back bar too. That's where our heals are at. That's where we want to be tanky. And our enchant on the back bar is that weapon damage. So we do have the ability to gain another 350 weapon damage. Going and looking at our stats, we'll buff up here real quick. Looking at our stats, so we got 3,900 weapon damage coming out of cloak, stealth. Our physical resistance is 2,300, and let's look at that one more time on our spell resistance is 1,800 on that. We're in a medium armor build, and we've got some pretty good resistances here, and we're gaining a shield as we spam through that cleave or carve. Our health in Imperial City or Cyrodiil will go up by 5k, and that puts us at 24,000, 25,000. I like that. I like to be in that on kind of a damage build. That works out very well for us. And our max stamina some would say is on the low, but if you look at our resistances or our recoveries are fairly high, just under 1700 and just over 1700. This allows us to be very active in fights, cloaking and dodge rolling and everything. This feels like a really fun class to play. And if you watch the video, it was a lot of fun. I think I got killed very early in the fight by just kind of pushing too hard too long, and then we cleaned it up after that and just uh, went through people. But haven't had a problem killing people with 4K weapon damage when we buff up, and the weapon crit. I'm not so much worried about that because we get the guaranteed crits coming out of stealth. Let's look at the Mundus that we're running is actually magic recovery. That's part of the reason we can get that up there. Along the same lines as my Nightblade bow build, I found that my Magicka and the ability to either use my cloak or use my shade was the difference maker between me surviving. Yeah, we can dodge roll and avoid damage or whatever, but if I really want to disengage or create distance, it came down to where my Magicka was at. And on this particular build, rather than go like 20k max Magicka like we did on the Nightblade, um, we are really active, closing the gap to people and putting damage into them. And so we went the recovery route, and it's worked out really well. In the videos, there's not a lot of times where I'm running low on stats. I do a good job sustaining. So we are a vampire on this, basically for that movement speed bonus while hidden, and with a channeled acceleration we can move very quickly while we're hidden. And our food that we use is the smoked bear haunch for those recoveries. So I like the stamina and magic recovery. That's how we hit the numbers that we hit. And so anyways, that's good. Let's look at our abilities real quick, then we'll move into our champion points. Unbuffed right now, we're running Ambush. Ambush is a great opener, obviously, and it applies that minor vulnerability, so they're taking 8% more damage. And grants you Empower, increasing the damage of your next light attack by 40%. Great, because when I gap close to him, I planned on doing a light attack right into our next ability, Surprise Attack. And Surprise Attack, the tooltip on this, we'll look at it buffed up, but that's a great spammable, super low cost, hits very hard, and it shreds their resistances, so I like that. Um, this can also be, like you read there at the bottom, attacking with surprise attack while sneaking or invisible stuns the enemy. So this can be my hard CC if I need one for a situation. My execute, I like reverse slice. I like reverse slice for because of being in outnumbered situations or against multiple targets. I'm not really worried about the executioner starts scaling at 400% and this is 300. I don't care about that. If I'm going up against three people, I don't need to kill all three. I need to kill one of them or get them really low. And once we start doing the reverse slice of splash damage from this, 78% of the damage is splashing to the other people. So I'm applying pressure to them, and that's what I was looking for. I want to apply pressure like that, and so just hitting an execute on a really low health is going to apply that splash, and maybe I switch to the back bar. Um, we're running Shadowy Disguise because we want that guaranteed crit out of stealth. We're running Channeled Acceleration. We like the duration, 36 seconds of Major Expedition is great. And we also get additional 10% crit damage. So my ult that I'm using is in cap and super low cost, 73 disease damage, and also gives you a 20% damage buff against that target. And that's perfect. So, and also it says if you cast with 120 or more ultimate, the enemy is silenced. So occasionally, against the extremely tanky targets, we might have to save up our ultimate, and if that is over 120, we'll try and silence them and burn them down before they can counterplay. So our back bar right now, we're running Piercing Mark. I Same situation as my Nightblade bow that I run professional. And if there's another Nightblade out there that is causing havoc on the battlefield or running up the score, I think it's fun to hunt them, and let's see how that goes. So for me, that's pretty exciting. We're going to hunt the hunter and make a game of that. And so Pierce Mark is going to be it. It's going to lower the resistance. We'll also throw Pierce Mark on our tanky targets. If you watch the video, for the most part, I was hitting everybody with Pierce Mark before I jumped on them. Why not debuff them before you try and put damage into them? And I'm going to hit everybody that's trying to stealth with Pierce Mark, just so that way we have a little bit of time to work on them. We are running Brawler. We were talking about that earlier, Cleave or whatever, but it's Brawler. And the tooltip on it, 6K, that'll buff up, 7,000, 7,500. That's great. But the shield that you get from this is super valuable in outnumbered situations. And this is the brawler portion of the build. If I'm standing in a large group and I want my master's maul to do work, we'll throw out a couple of these and see how successful it is. But it's been fun having that. Could we put a bow on this bar? Yes, we could. But been there, done that, and that's very meta. And I wanted to have a build that incorporated the Master Maul, and I wanted to run a two-hand brawler type setup. Something else that helps with the brawler type setup is the fact that we have a devouring swarm since we're a vampire. So we save up our ultimate for this. If I jump into a large group, say there's six people there or whatever, I'll jump into the group and make sure that devouring swarm is going, and then we're spamming this. I'll make sure at least one of the targets gets hit with this, and we'll see what we have. If I don't like how it's going, if I don't get one particular target low so we can switch over here and start executing, then I just hit my shade and dip out. We're gone. So that brings us to the third ability. We're running Shadow Image, and that's my get out of jail free card, I guess. So we'll set the shade down, and then we'll run one direction and zip back to our shade and run the opposite direction if we need to get away from people. So same situation here. I didn't run Shadow Image or Shade for the longest time. I ran Fear, and Fear was simply not putting enough distance between me and the people trying to attack me or kill me, and I got that out of Shade. So and Resolving Vigor, so we're looking at 13,000. That'll probably be about 15,000 or so heal over 4 seconds, and then we've got our Rally. And those are our abilities. Let's look at them real quick, buffed up, just to kind of see where we're at. Tooltip wise, 5,700, 9,300 execute, and our in cap is just under 15,000. So, and 6,500 on our brawler. So, CP, let's see where we're at. Nothing in the apprentice. And when you go over the Master at Arms, we're at my soft cap that I like to set up at 60. It gives you just under 21% damage going out. And we have 60% in Physical Weapon Expert because we are doing light and heavy attack weaves. And going over to the ritual, 60 into precise strikes, 50 into mighty. We do physical, poison, and disease damage on this build, and then 40 into piercing. Gonna need piercing right now. There's a lot of tanky targets with a lot of healing out there. Because we are a brawler, we are subject to direct damage, and so I run 60 with Ironclad. That's going to cut that down a lot. And I also put 60 into medium armor expertise, so our physical resistances are higher. And we've got 60 into hardy and 60 into elemental defender and 30 into recovery. And when we roll over here, I don't get CC'd a lot with this guy, knock on wood. Same with my Nightblade bow guy. I don't get CC'd a lot with him. I maybe could afford to put more in here if it ends up becoming a problem, but more times than not, we're okay with the amount of sustain or that we have on this build. Our recoveries, we're able to dodge roll and use our shade or shadowy disguise cloak out of there. So no problems really. 60, 60, 60 in Mooncalf, 60 in Arcanus, and then 20 in Tenacity because we do that light and heavy attack weave. And then Shade, we're at 24%. We put 45 into it. We do run around the battlefield a lot, hidden or stealthed, and I don't want to burn my stamina by the time I get to my target. I have to cover a little bit more distance than I would if I were on a bow build. We would, pull up to a target and park just outside of, 28, just inside 28 meters and start raining on them. This guy, we got to get all the way to him, or at least close enough for our gap closer to finish the distance. So shade's important. And then tumbling, I went over my soft cap of 60 that I like to do, and we went with 75. I end up dodge rolling a lot on this guy because we're running the Crusader set, and so I thought that was the play to make. And another thing here, we are running all divines on this, and minus the shoulders there. I think we need to transmute that, but we're running all divines with magic recovery, and so that's really helped us out a lot. Like I said, when we buff up and we get to right at 4K, and then we use the weapon enchant on our back bar, we can get this over 4K, 4300, 4500, whatever. Um, I haven't had a problem killing people at 4K weapon damage. So occasionally we'll run into the super tanky targets, and as a Nightblade, you don't want to spend a lot of time with those guys. There's really no reason to stand there and beat your head against the wall trying to kill this super tanky guy when there's so many other people that you could just burst down and go. So, and that's the beauty of the Nightblade, is you should be able to pick and choose your targets. And so there's that. Anyways, that is the build. That's what we've been running. If you watch a Mandalorian build, um, you'll be able to kind of see how we use everything in that fight. And he's just a lot of fun to play. So we do CP, no CP, BGs, Imperial City with him. Thanks. Have a good night.